Highguard is just about at the end of its life cycle. I don't think that this game is going to survive for much longer, given they've only got about 20 developers working on it. We're finding out that Tencent had pulled their funding after their disastrous launch, and apparently it's still not the developers' fault for creating a terrible game because they're blaming its failure on the overconfidence of their leadership. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, just a few days ago, we had found out that Tencent was secretly funding Highguard and this studio, and I can't say I'm particularly surprised by this situation because we clearly knew they had a lot of money at their disposal when they paid $1 million to highlight their game at the Game Awards. A small independent team wouldn't have been able to do that. And then the reason that they said it failed was because of the leadership. And sure, I do think in some cases the leadership is to blame because they'll rush a game out, they will set unrealistic goals and expectations within the studio, things like that. But ultimately, it is the developers' faults for not creating something better. You all were getting paid pretty well, you had a lot of time to make this game, and then your responses on social media to the backlash were not very good. But yes, now we have found out that Tencent has pulled funding after the rough launch, and this is why they went through those major layoffs. They have said apparently there's about 20 people who are still working on this game, and so that was called a core team when the layoffs happened. So that means they must have had well over 100 developers who actually helped on this experience. But new details have emerged regarding Highguard's downfall. A new report notes that Tencent pulled its funding for the game, leading to the mass layoffs at Wildlight Entertainment. And yes, I do think that in a lot of cases, we should see the funding element, whether it is investors or their parent company, whoever it is, give a little bit more time before killing a game. Because yes, occasionally developers can put the time and effort in and they can change things and fix it, but I get that there are a lot of investors that don't want to deal with paying for nothing, paying all of this money for a game that isn't going to go anywhere. Look at what happened with Sony and Concord. They pulled the plug because nobody was playing it. It was getting destroyed on social media, and there was no clear path forward with that game. Now, in the case of Highguard, yes, it did launch to 97,000 players, which is a lot, but that just goes to show that people gave you a chance and you just sucked. Your game sucked, your team sucked, your product sucked, and this is why you failed. It's not because the leadership came out and, oh my gosh, didn't give you a chance or held you back. This game had a lot to it. This game had every system under the sun, so clearly the developers were given a chance to basically make whatever they wanted. They were given a big budget. They were given a lot of time. It's just that the developers aren't good at their jobs and couldn't create an experience that people wanted. It says, though, this new report from Jason Schreier notes that fewer than 20 people remain at Wildlight Entertainment. The organization had announced a major restructuring in the wake of its rough launch, and the news of lack of funding came in a meeting just a few days ago. The report notes that several team members used the word hubris when asked what went wrong with the launch. And yes, that leads me to this article that says ex-Highguard developers blame hubris for the game's failure in a new report, with studio leaders convinced they had another Apex Legends on their hands. And sure, I do think part of this is the studio leader's fault for maybe hyping up the team too much, allowing toxic positivity to run rampant in this studio. But at the same time, we have these ex-developers blaming everybody but themselves. They are blaming gamers, they are blaming their team leaders, but they will not take a look in the mirror and go, maybe I should have a little bit of personal responsibility in this situation. Maybe I helped contribute to this bad situation. And this is why so many gamers are sick and tired of a lot of the developers that are in the industry being activists aside. They're generally just narcissists. They are rude, toxic people who believe that they are better than everybody else. They think they are definitely better than gamers, and they have no respect for anybody around them. And when their product fails, they point the finger and lay the blame at somebody else's feet. They will throw anybody under the bus as long as they are the ones who are able to walk away from the situation with a scuffed knee. They don't care what else happens to anybody else. And well, when a game fails like this and everyone's throwing each other under the bus, just goes to show how bad the work environment really was. And at the time of recording this video, there are currently 368 players in game right now. It has been a month since Highguard released. It went from 97,249 to 368. This is the largest and most drastic drop off in a short span of time that I personally have ever seen in the video game industry. Sure, games like Concord release and they do nothing, but even that isn't as shocking as seeing something like this. Now, I do know when they announced the layoffs and it seemed that this game wasn't going to be around for much longer, their numbers did drastically decline. A lot of people gave up because why would you invest time and money and effort into something that could disappear tomorrow? But yeah, this is an absolutely insane situation to see. And of course, I don't really feel all that bad. Now, taking a look on social media at the responses to everything that's happening, there's people saying, ouch, the failure was 100% ego and overconfidence. That's what the kids call an epic fail. Now, that is some funny shit. What was it, Jeff Keighley? An independent studio? Yeah, and I definitely think that the marketing, or I guess the lack thereof leading up to the release, did not help either. It seemed that it was a good strategy in theory to like stay silent and not say anything, but Jeff Keighley not knowing that's the strategy, and then Jeff Keighley being like, in 24 hours, I'll be collecting your apologies, that just made it so much worse. And sure, out of the people talking about it on social media, some did genuinely want this game to fail. I personally didn't. I'd never want a game to fail for the fucks of it. I would rather everything come out and be amazing and a 10 out of 10, but yeah, I mean, it's too good to not point and laugh at. Its destruction was inevitable, only a matter of time before the clock runs out. Trying to hold in a laugh and failing. Good, they tried and failed. Dang, no fucking shit. Yeah, and they called it lightning in a bottle in the studio, so clearly the bottle broke. I will be covering Highguard when the servers go down, probably. I think that's going to be relatively soon, but I can't say I feel all that bad when you really take a hard look at the people that were on this team, how they're activists, how they are self-centered, narcissists. They don't really care about anybody else. And sure, I get that the leadership might have had a different vision for the outcome of this title, and they might be to blame in part for the game being bad, but the developers are also certainly to blame. And now that Tencent has pulled funding, I just think that this game is dead. But that's all that I had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.